Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the City of Independence, I welcome each of you in attendance, as well as those of you who are watching this meeting on City 7, to this January 24th meeting of the Independence Planning Commission. For those of you who are unfamiliar with our meeting, it is the responsibility of this commission to hold public hearings and make recommendations to the Independence City Council on matters relating to zoning, land use, and changes within the city. We also consider and make decisions on plat, special use permit, and others, as well as changes in codes and policies that relate to city planning. Before we commence, let us rise and pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Staff, would you call the roll?
Commissioner Nesbitt,
Here.
Commissioner H. Wiley,
Here.
Commissioner L. Wiley,
Here.
Vice Chairman Preston,
Here.
and Chair McLean on Teams.
I am here.
Thank you. The first item on the agenda, consent agenda, for the Planning Commission minutes of January 10, 2023. Commissioners, have you had an opportunity to review the minutes? Do you have any additional comments, remarks, or offers of change? Hearing none, then the minutes. Oh, Commissioner Nesbitt.
Do we not make a motion or not? Make a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved. We have a second.
I second.
Staff, call the roll.
Commissioner Nesbitt,
Yes.
Commissioner H. Wiley,
Yes.
Commissioner L. Wiley, Vice Chairman Preston,
Yes.
and Chairman McLean.
Yes.
Motion's carried. The public hearing portion, the first case will be continued, case 22-100-22, rezoning preliminary development plan at 420 South Main Street. Staff, report, please.
So this is the continued case 22-100-22, 420 South Main Street. You can see it on the vicinity map here. Property right to the northwest of the Elm Main intersection. And reviewing real quickly from last time, this is in an area that abuts a nearby single-family residential neighborhood that lies to the south and the east. It's in a commercial zone that has a commercial building to the north of it, and industrial uses and buildings to the east along or west along Liberty. And the comprehensive plan, though, envisions this area as part of the residential urban neighborhoods area. Of course, this property, again, has been Zone C2 since 1965. It was developed into a 12-unit office building in the 70s, colonial in style. Matt Thurnbow and Monte Nordine intend to convert this underutilized building into a multifamily structure. Of course, the property would eliminate a large area of commercial. This redevelopment would redevelop a vacant property into 12 affordable units at the northwest corner of Main Street and Elm Street. The apartments would be 1 and 2 bedroom, and I believe that number is incorrect. I think it's 870 to 1,100. Double check that number. Yeah, it's 825 to 1,100 per month respectively. Each unit, of course, would be metered separately. A 6-foot opaque fence and landscaping would buffer the building from the south, and improvements would include either resurfacing or reconstructing the west parking lot. Architectural elements would be added that would include different accents, and there would be individual laundry units in each unit rather than a common one as was cited in the last meeting. Okay, this is the aerial photograph of the area. So you can see where Elm comes in right there. So this is the new site plan. Since the last time we were here, the top is west, so we're looking west. North is to the right. So the biggest change is probably what is being done in that undeveloped area on the north part of the property, providing amenities there, basically a barbecue area there, and of course the trash enclosure has been included this time up there at the northwest corner. You can see that around the parking lot area, some landscaping has been added where some end caps and islands have been created, as well as some landscaping around the building as well. And the landscaping plan is a little bit more clear about that in detail on this drawing as opposed to the previous site plan page. So this is the way the building currently looks right now, with at least 4 exterior doors. There you can see on the end, those would no longer be part of the project, but would be completely internally accessed from these middle doors, both from the bottom level and the top level here. As you can see, this is the new rendition, and you can see the 2 sets of doors, upper and lower, and the balcony and the access to that there on the north side, as well as a green space around a proposed monument sign there, and green spaces around the parking lot, and you can see some of the amenities there up on the right of the picture. So here's the trash enclosure with its little roof area over the top of the masonry structure. And then this is internal floor plans. This first one is of the first floor. So you can see the first floor units here, 6 of those. And then these are the second floor units here. And here's the elevations. So you can, the west side, the back side there is on the bottom. The south elevation, that's the one that faces the single family neighborhood to the south. It's on top there. Here's also a sample here on the upper left on this page of the proposed fencing that would be used around the property. This is, of course, looking from the north side, there on the right, on top. And then facing Main Street is the lower picture here on this elevation. The office building is a red brick colonial structure with 2 floors of tenant spaces right now. Again, the characteristics of this area is that the neighbor to the north is Old Union Hall, a commercial in design. Buildings have been there for a number of decades with their residences at the south and east. So we have a neighborhood is a great mixture of 19th, 20th, and mid-20th century construction. And this property, of course, is adjacent to the South Main neighborhood. A few years ago, as we had talked about last time, this neighborhood to the south was the subject of a city-initiated rezoning, changed a number of R12 and R18 properties to R6. It is predominantly a single-family neighborhood with some churches and multifamily mixed in. The South Main Street neighborhood is identified in the Historic Preservation Master Plan. The South Main neighborhood was originally made up of stately homes and large lots owned by Independence professionals and business owners, many of whom who worked on the Independence Square. Several of these grand dwellings are listed on the National Register of Historic Places. The comprehensive plan calls for infill activity that should blend with the existing character of the neighborhood. There's not any sub-area plan. This is actually a block outside of the square area plan area. So the R18 PUD, moderate density plan unit development, of course, allows for numerous uses other than just the multifamily use. There's a number of civic uses, home-based daycare as well. Of course, all the existing public utilities are already located there. So the office building in its front and a rear parking set against the southern property line. So most of the existing green space and existing trees, of course, are on the north side of the lot. The applicant proposes that same style of fencing that I showed you earlier, both along the south end of the property as well as along the bordering the north side of the amenity, and they're on the west side of the property. Strip of landscaping along the length of the rear, the west side, will soften the existing masonry walls that are belonging to the industrial properties to the west. To the northwest, of course, is the trash enclosure, and there's landscaping around that. And it has a cupola that matches the main structure as well. And of course, at the final development plan stage, we will go through the details of and ensure the compliance of all the landscaping requirements with the final development plan. There's no public improvements that would be needed along this corridor here. The city does not have any capital improvements planned nearby this site. So again, going through the pictures, here's the existing property. And this is looking north, I believe. And then this is where Elm intersects intersects Main, right to the southeast. And then this is looking south into the single-family neighborhood. And another view from this south side. Staff recommends approval of this rezoning and preliminary development plan with the following conditions. Development shall be in accordance with the preliminary, that should be preliminary. Preliminary development plan dated January 5th, 2023, that the applicant obtain all appropriate building permits required per city code. And ready to take any questions you may have.
Before commissioners pose questions to staff, our procedure in this case and all subsequent cases will be that the applicant will be permitted and recognized to speak, or his representative, followed by anyone else in attendance who wish to speak in favor of the matter. Secondly, those who are in opposition or who have questions regarding this case and subsequent cases will be recognized to speak. Then, if there was opposition or questions from the public, the applicant will be allowed a rebuttal period to address those concerns. Once the applicant is finished, the chair will declare the public hearing portion of the case closed, and further comment from the public will not be recognized. At this point, the commissioners will have the opportunity to discuss the merits of this case and others. During this discussion, the commissioners reserve the right to ask questions of all parties concerned. Finally, the commission will render a decision. Because this is the only public hearing in this case and others on the agenda tonight, all those who wish to speak will be heard. All comments and questions should be addressed to the chair or commissioners, not directly to the applicant or staff. The chair also requests that statements be kept brief and on point, and if the statements have already been made by a previous speaker, do not repeat it. Simply indicate your agreement on the matter. Now, to expedite tonight's meeting, the chair asks that everyone who wishes to testify or believes they might testify, please stand and be sworn in. Please raise your right hand. Do you promise to tell the truth before this commission? If so, say I do. Thank you. You may be seated. Commissioners, do you have any questions of the staff? Before we bring the applicant or their representative forward, Counselor, someone has expressed some concern about the scope or the parameters of jurisdiction of this commission to query such matters as utilities, that is water, electric, sewage, the capacity thereof, in this case and any other type of similar cases. Can you speak to that concern?
Yes, I had an opportunity to review a couple code provisions while the staff was making their presentation. In your review criteria for a preliminary development plan for a PUD, one of the review criteria is that it has to be consistent with the PUD standards of section 14902. And then when you go to 14902, one of the purposes of a plan unit development overlay district is to ensure that development can be conveniently, efficiently, and economically served by existing and planned utilities and services. So I think that's probably the criteria that you're looking for. So what this is saying is that is an issue that you can look at when you're reviewing the development plan as part of this application.
Thank you, Counselor. In spite of your hair, well said. Will the applicant and/or representative please come forward and present? Please state your name, address for the record.
Montague Nordine, 509 Northwest Fairway Drive, Blue Springs, Missouri, 64014. Ladies and gentlemen of the Commission, we're Matt Turnbow and Monty Nordine of Summit Holdings Group, LLC, and currently have the 420 South Main Street 8,000 square foot office building under contract to purchase and then renovate. The 50-year-old property is aging, unoccupied, vandalized, and is currently falling to contribute to the optimal condition of the South Main Street corridor. Summit Holdings proposes to convert the current 12-office, two-story structure into a completely renovated 12-unit multifamily building with 7 two-bedroom units and 5 one-bedroom units. Our concept is to completely renovate the inside of the building with all new furnishing, fixtures, and equipment. Everything new from the completely stripped interior. On the exterior of the building, we propose to install all new windows, light fixtures, iron railings, roofing, rebuilt cupola, providing brick repair and paint the building. The project site will have dramatic changes. There's to be a new 6-foot opaque fence dividing the subject property from single-family properties to the south. The same style fence will also provide a degree of privacy from the commercial structures to the north. The front parking lot will be redefined with additional landscaped islands, an additional street tree, an attractive monument sign. And you'll please note on the site drawings, we are supplying to the Commission considerable foundation landscaping areas added to all sites of the building. There's a strip of landscaping along the length of the rear west parking lot that softens the existing masonry walls that belong to the industrial properties to the west. The deficient west parking lot, 27 spaces, is to be completely removed and or repaired to make it adequately new for the tenants. To the north and to the rear of the property, we are illustrating a necessary, attractive trash enclosure with landscaping and with a roof and cupola to match the rebuilt one on the main structure. One of the most attractive new features is the barbecue picnic area. It's designed to accommodate the rental occupants in a landscaped open area near a grove of large trees. As stated before, rents for these units will be between $825 to $1,100 a month, depending on size. The rent, square footage, and bedroom count is included in a separate sheet in your packet. The building's repurpose will increase the current declining population density of the South Main Corridor, increase walking traffic to historic Independence Square, and the project conforms to the 2040 Comprehensive Plan, which zone, again, states this as residential urban neighborhood. Our intent to take this vacant derelict buildings to repurpose it in a highly attractive renewed property for the people to call home. This project will be an asset to the community. We look forward to being long-term owners of the 420 South Main. Our architect on this project, Jim Gamble, is available and here tonight to answer any of your questions regarding the design of this building. Jim?
Please state your name and address for the record.
Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen of the Commission, my name is Jim Gamble. I represent the Gamble Company Incorporated, architects and contractors, and reside at 3500 South Mize Ridge Court, Independence. And I'm here to talk about the design that you hopefully have in front of you. You should have a picture of it, of this note, and then there is a multi-page set of preliminary drawings that shows the the preliminary design of what would be a completed building. Also shows the inside that has a new floor plan that would serve that particular building, customized for it. Of particular interest is the outside, and we've done a number of things to the building itself. It's going to have all new windows. There's egress windows that are required. They'll be set up for energy efficiency. The current guardrail on the front is 36 inches, not satisfactory for new code. All of that comes down and new and repainted. The landscaping is considerable that we've added to this. It's on the front. We've taken part of the parking lot and put islands in it. We have a monument sign that would describe a new name for the facility. We add a street tree. On the north is some very large existing trees, and we're making a little bit of a park area there for those that live in that particular property. In the back, the industrial backs up to this property, and it's not particularly beautiful. One of the fences looks nice, the other one not so much. We propose to ask permission to paint that one, and then we're showing strips of landscaping in front of it. And in the back, all around the property, where right now it has no landscaping on the sides or front or back. I'd call your attention to, there's two site plans in your packet. One of them is all of these are preliminary, is a site plan that shows the park area that has a barbecue area and without a fence that surrounds that, except to the north where it connects to the commercial property to the north. Okay, the idea would be put the same fencing that we have on the south, which is a attractive fence. That fence, by the way, is made with preserved wood. It would stay unpainted for about 6 months and then be painted white to match the building and the property also to the south. If the people to the south, there's a I would say a deficient fence there now. I am going to volunteer the new owners that they would take that down for that property owner if they had permission to do so, and then put this pretty new fence on their property. We'd put a piece of that fence also on the north side next to this barbecue area. On one sheet, it shows a surround of a fence, and on the other sheet, it does not show the surround. And that is what they would like to build, the one without the iron fence around it and the gate. If it turns out that there are people that come on the property and abuse this property and use it and not the owners of it, then they would reserve the right to go in and build the fence and put the same card key thing that is found in the building, put that on there so it can be reserved for the people of that property rather than someone else taking it over. I'm here you might see the trash enclosure. There's one required. We've made it as pretty as we can. Put a little top on it with a gazebo on top of that. I'm here to answer questions. If any of you have anything that you would like to ask me, this project is particularly important from a historic standpoint. My third grade girlfriend lived right across the street of it. So we spent extra time and effort to make this of proper nature, and I hope we measured up to you, and I'll have to give her a call and tell her.
Thank you. Before the commissioners ask questions, I kind of cued you by asking the counselor to talk about the scope and the jurisdiction of this commission in the areas of utilities. Take a moment and
Talk about the utilities?
utilities, water, electric, in this conversion from a commercial application to a residential.
It currently has, I think, 12 or 13 meters in the back. The electricity would be about the same, frankly. The same load of what the previous office building was. There would be additional water and sewer that would be needed for it, but I think if there's even normal lines in Main Street there, this would not be a problem. We'll dig into that when we get down to working drawings. But I don't anticipate there'd be a problem for either the sewer or the water for this property.
All right. I'll open. Commissioners?
I just have one question right now to think of. Handicap spots, I see we got 2. How many do they have to have for 12 apartments? Is 2 enough, or is that?
Well, it's based upon the number of parking spaces, so it's 2 per 50. One would need to be van accessible. It looks like both of them are van accessible, actually.
Yeah, okay, I was just curious. I mean, I didn't know if it goes by apartments or by how many spots, so, okay.
We exceed the number of parking spaces required for the project. We had space, and there they are, and if somebody has a party, then there's parking for them.
Oh, yeah, I appreciate that. The only other thing I see on the drawing, but I mean, I'm sure you guys would catch it, there's no closets in the middle apartments. I'm sure you catch it.
This whole thing's a little bit tight,
Yeah,
but you will note the quality is pretty high,
Oh,
and
yeah.
the rents are
right.
on the top end, and I think that helps ensure people that want to take care of the property and will be good neighbors in the particular area.
No, it looks good,
Yeah.
a lot better than what it was when we first saw it. No, this is great. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Not too many compliments yet, Commissioner. Commissioner H. Wiley, any comments?
I just think the rendering's beautiful. I'm excited. I think it's going to help the neighborhood. Looks great.
Okay?
Commissioner L. Wiley?
I'd just like to commend the owners, or soon-to-be new owners, on coming back and the detail that we requested. You absolutely listened to the suggestions of the city and gave us something to really look at, and I'm in agreement with Commissioner H. Wiley that I'm excited. The renderings are beautiful. So.
Before Commissioner McLean has an opportunity to speak, I just want to tamp down. Don't tip your hand too quickly in approving, nodding approval. We want him to twist in the wind just a bit.
The only other thing I will say is that having Mr. Gamble on board was a smart move.
There you go again. Commissioner McLean?
Yes,
Chair,
thank you.
I stand corrected. That is
Hand up
Chair
so that you can see.
McLean.
Thank you. I don't have any questions. I also just have, I can't make him twist in the wind. I'm sorry. I mean, this is just like exceeded what I was even hoping for South Main. This is just a fantastic outcome, and I'm really, I'm so happy for South Main because I feel like I think, Jim, you did a fantastic job, and I think potential owners, I mean, you've added to the street, and I think that was the main goal, and I think that's where we had our doubts and our concerns, and you just like eliminated them for me. So thank you. Well done. I love the trash enclosure. I love it all.
Trish.
I've done the best I can to contain the enthusiasm for this project. Staff, before Mr. Gamble sits down, he made a comment about the southern fence. And I know you wanted to memorialize and ensure that what is presented becomes the final product or very similar. Mr. Gamble, can you repeat what you said about
There
that
are
southern-
two site plans there. The first site plan, I think the one you have, does not have the iron fence around the picnic area. It has a partial fence to the north, but not the whole length of the property. And so the idea would be to do the barbecue area and the concrete work and the landscaping and put a fire pit in there for that service. And then down the road, if there's a problem, then they'll come back and do some more work. So that would be my plan on working drawings.
Were we on the same page on
No.
memorializing that? Is that,
You asked about the northern fence, right?
I think, southern?
Oh, southern fence
Well,
is on there. Northern fence is not on here.
So, excuse me, all along the south is full
Fence.
length is a 6-foot
Yeah, fence, yeah.
fence with some lattice on it. And
Yeah.
on the north, that the length of just that improved area would have that fence.
Oh, so there is no fence on the northern side then, period.
There would be a fence, just like the wooden southern fence, but it would be
Okay.
on the north, only part of it instead of the full length.
Okay, so the drawing I show does not have that
Well,
northern
there's
fence.
2 or
Maybe.
3 drawings running
Yeah.
around, I think.
Yep, that's fine. I mean, I thought you said you was putting a northern fence too.
All right. Commissioners,
Yeah, good.
any further questions?
I had it's not really a question, I'm sorry, Billy.
Chair McLean, can you repeat what you just said?
Yeah, so this is not necessarily a question for the applicant, it's more for us and for staff, but as we proceed with the motion, do we need to add a third element to the approval for that space, giving them permission to add the fence as needed, or I'm not sure how we would word that exactly, but that's my question.
Staff?
That would be a final development plan detail.
All right. Very good. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is there anyone here who would like to speak in favor of this project? Hearing none. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak in opposition to this project? Hearing none, I'll close the public portion of this. And commissioners, your thoughts? I know your enthusiasm is in evidence.
No, I think everything looks good to me. I'm gonna go ahead and make a motion that we approve 22-100-22 with the recommendations by staff.
I second.
Staff, call the roll.
Commissioner Nesbitt,
Yes.
Commissioner H. Wiley,
Yes.
Commissioner L. Wiley,
Yes.
Vice Chairman
Yes.
Preston, and Chairman McLean.
Yes.
Well, the enthusiasm is in evidence by the vote. We are totally, absolutely impressed by this presentation. We wish you Godspeed. This matter will be before the council. Go in peace. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. The next item on the agenda is case 23-100-02, rezoning at 308 and 312 South Liberty Street. Staff, please report.
So on this first slide, you see the vicinity map for the area along, this isn't, but about 2 blocks from this earlier case, here on Liberty. across from the Jackson County Health Building. Industrial zone residential properties that need R6 zoning. So as you can see, these isolated existing single-family homes are within an area zoned industrial, surrounded by a lot of commercial to the north and some industrial property just to the south. Of course, the property to the east being the health department building for the county. The comprehensive plan sees this as a mixed area of different uses, including residential and commercial. These properties have been zoned I-1 or M1 industrial since 1965. Both structures were originally built as single-family homes. Adrian Hill requested to rezone this her legal non-conforming single-family house to make it more marketable. Non-cash buyers that require mortgages wouldn't have difficulty getting bank financing. Further, the residents to the south potentially faces similar difficulties. So that property's owner and Andrea's Villa Taro is joining this request as well. Rezoning both properties eliminates industrial zoned residential lots, a legal nonconformity of single family in the neighborhood that's zoned overwhelmingly for commercial and industrial uses. So going in the analysis section here, both residences appear to be in fairly good condition. The northern house is the one that's being marketed by Ms. Hill, smaller than the two. The southern house that's a little bit closer to the street. Both of them don't have garages. Of course, they were formerly part of what was a whole neighborhood of homes, which slowly got eaten away by commercial development over time. The surrounding neighborhood has several properties with early to mid 20th century commercial and industrial buildings. The health department building is a masonry building sitting about 25 feet from the right-of-way with a large grassy lawn that occupies the tract to the east. An underutilized commercial building on a much narrower lot abuts the northern residence. To the south lies a masonry industrial / commercial building, and there's an access drive to the property behind these properties that's sandwiched between that southern house and this industrial property to the south. This is a project that would be consistent with the strategic plan for improved housing conditions and to increase the value of owner-occupied housing units. The comprehensive plan guiding land use principles recommends in mixed-use areas like this site to maintain housing stock in established neighborhoods. Unlike the previous case, this property is within a sub-area plan for the Square District. Zoning. The proposed R6 single-family residential zoning classification allows for single-family dwellings and various other civic uses, daycares, whatnot. The I-1, of course, does not have a provision for single-family homes, which makes for difficulty in attaining mortgages for anybody that's buying residential properties within that zoning district. There aren't any other historic or identifiable archaeological sites around there, although the two homes are probably the most historical things in the neighborhood. Of course, not anywhere near a floodplain, and the public improvements would not be required. It's existing improved street with a sidewalk, and there's no planned or programmed CIP improvements for that corridor right now either. So this picture here is looking directly at the two properties there. So you can see that commercial property to the north that has kind of a residential look to it. It's kind of hard to tell whether it was multifamily or whether it was commercial, or it looked like a little bit of both at different times. This is the more northern of the two properties. And then the southern of the two. So this is looking north back up toward the square. And that's part of the lawn to the health department there on the right. And then this looks looking to the south from in front of the blue house. And you can see the health department across the street there as well. And this is a property further to the south, that industrial building. Staff recommends approval of this rezoning, and I'm ready to take any questions you may have.
This appears to be a bit of a trend. Is there a way that we can globally address these changes, or do we have to do it case by case, drip by drip?
Well, in this case, it was, the applicant was just that northern property. So in a sense, we were taking care of the whole residential little, there's only two properties, but situation together at the same time. We, in fact, in the next month, we'll be bringing forward a case that, in fact, does that over about a 3-block area on North Main. So we are slowly addressing these zoning incongruities.
Thank you. Commissioners?
Yeah, on 304 address, what is that zoned? Is that I-2? I-1, I mean?
That is the commercial property.
That's commercial?
That's a C2 property.
That's a C2, the 304.
On the north.
I mean, it looks like it's boarded up in what pictures I've seen, what you showed there maybe. And it looks like to me it might have been an apartment. That's why I was trying to figure out.
Yeah, I went there and tried to, I wish I would have taken a picture on the other side.
Right.
It looks like they're using it for storage or something, so it's not like it doesn't look abandoned. They're going through the doors on the north, apparently.
Yeah, because it
And
looks
going
like it's
in and
boarded
out
up.
of
I
it.
mean, pictures I see here, it looks like it's boarded up. That's why I didn't know if you noticed it or not.
I think they've boarded up those front windows, but I think they're actually accessing the north side, and I think it appeared to me that they were using it for
So
some
that one's zone
storage
C2.
using.
That one's zone C2.
That one's zone C2.
Okay, thank you.
Excellent. Commissioners, any further questions? Now let us hear from the applicants, Ms. Hill and Ms. Villatoro. Please state your name
My
and
name's
address.
actually Lynn Pappenbrook. I'm representing Adrian Hill, and Miss Hill lives in Colorado. Sorry, I'm short. Miss Hill lives in Colorado, so she's asked me to represent her. I was the real estate agent that was attempting to sell the property from approximately August through November. We had multiple people interested in the property, but it all came down to the same thing. Any mortgage would not allowed to be going through because if the property burned to the ground, it could not be rebuilt residential. Therefore, none of the underwriters would let it go through. So unfortunately, the property stayed vacant for an extended period of time and started to have some vandalism issues and other problems. She now has a tenant in the property, and that's bringing everything back, and, you know, at least it's going to be more monitored.
Commissioners? I think this is a bit of a no-brainer. But we do the process.
Absolutely.
Commissioners?
And just for the record, the Villatoros don't speak very good English, so we didn't feel bringing them here today would really make a ton of sense.
Thank you. Is there anyone here who would speak in support of this application? Is there anyone here speaking in opposition to this application? Hearing none, then the public portion of this is closed. Commissioners, comments or a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve case 23-100-02, rezoning of 308 and 312 South Liberty Street from I-1 Industrial to R6 Single Family Residential.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Staff, would you call the roll?
Commissioner Nesbitt,
Yes.
Commissioner H. Wiley,
Yes.
Commissioner L. Wiley,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Preston,
Yes.
and Chairman McLean.
Yes.
The motion's carried. This zoning request is scheduled for the first reading by the City Council on February 20th, 2023, and the public hearing and second reading on March the 6th. Go forth.
May I ask a question?
Surely.
Do I need to be present for those further, or Ms. Hill need to be present for those further meetings?
Counselor.
Yes, okay. That's all I need to know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next case on the agenda is case 23-100-03, rezoning at 3300 South Blue Ridge Cutoff. Staff, would you report?
before we get started here, the applicant, Mr. Goodwin, is not here. Is there anybody here to speak to represent the cases? Oh, you are. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, so we have a couple of area people that want to speak against it, but the applicant is not here to present either one of the two cases.
That wasn't them here when we first got here today?
I don't know.
Yeah, there was a group here.
There was a group here with Perkins, and Perkins left with them. Was that them or not? I don't know what the applicant looked like.
None of them were Mr. Goodwin.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know if you want to hear this or you want to continue this case to the February 14th meeting, these two cases, actually. The rezoning and the special
Well,
use permit.
let me just ask, would you be able to return if we continue this to the next? Because we're going to continue it because the applicant is not here.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
Then,
I do have a question, though.
surely, please come before.
I brought the.
Please state your name for the record
Yeah.
and address for the record.
My name is Wes Epperson. I live at 3600 Poplar Avenue, which is about a mile from where this proposed business would be located. I saw the public notice in the Examiner on January the 7th, and that's why I was aware that this hearing would be today. I drove by this area several times in the past couple of weeks. I never noticed a posting for the public hearing. So I went by there again before I came here tonight, and I actually drove in the parking lot and looked around. I found the posting laying face down on the ground. I don't know how many
days it was laying on the ground, but that's a problem, I would think, because a lot of people don't take the paper. And if they would be interested in this issue, they wouldn't have known about it, because I don't know how long this sign has been on the ground. But it's fairly obvious it's been broken and laying face down. I'll leave this with the city. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Staff, you put the sign up, correct?
Yeah, I actually put two signs up at this property, one for the special use permit and one for the rezoning. Unfortunately, we're not always able to, wind blows these over, people knock them over, you back into them.
Right.
We're not always able to track, to keep track of these. We try to go by, from time and check and see if they're still up, and if they're not, put up new signs. There's a provision in our code that says even if the sign was taken down, by whatever reason, it doesn't create any legal problems with notice, because this sign is just an addition. It's not required by state law. The applicant has provided an affidavit saying that he did mail out notices to property owners within 185 feet, which he's required to do, and we did post the thing in the newspaper as we're required to do. So we have met our statutory requirements. I'll go out, and if we board continues this meeting, I'll go out and put some new signs up with the new dates.
And you take pictures when the signs are up? too,
I
correct?
take pictures on my phone just to show
Right.
that the signs were put up.
Right, and then when you take pictures to present to us, don't you have the signs sometimes?
Usually, yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Usually they're in the photo. I try to get them in the photo as best I
Right,
can.
right, okay. Thank you.
All right. Before we entertain a motion for continuing it to a date certain, I think the next meeting of this commission is February 14th.
14th.
I think I heard something comment to the effect there may not be a quorum.
Okay, as far as we know, there will be.
There will,
That's Valentine's Day.
all right. Then,
And the chairman is also shaking her head yes.
then the chair will entertain a motion for
Well, I need to
continuing
ask one more
to
question.
date certain.
Can I ask one more question here,
Absolutely.
staff? As of right now, how many body art studios do we have that you know of?
Let me look here on my
I know
little,
that's a
list.
question that's coming up, and I thought, isn't it only 7 we?
Okay, the limit on the number of body art shops is now 8, an increase from 7 due to the city's 2020 census population increase. There are now 7 shops in the city. This application doesn't increase that number, as it is only a relocation of an existing business.
Oh, it's a relocation.
what I-
so
Yeah, if you recall, this is about a year and a half ago, he went in Winter Road and as part of the art district in that building that's on that kind of a triangle piece. So he's moving over here because he has better exposure. It's a larger facility.
Okay, well, I know that's, a lot of these people come here asking about that. I did not know he was moving from someplace else already been, so he's already established in Independence. He's just moving his location.
If you've been by that building on Winter Road, it's kind of hard to see individual businesses in there. They set back, there's kind of a walkway in front, and I
Right.
guess he feels that this is has better visibility
Right.
than
Okay,
that
that's sure.
location.
I was just curious on, I knew he was at 7, and I wasn't for sure if we was adding another one.
But these body art cases would come to us if we had reached our limit, right? They
No,
would-
we wouldn't take an application if we hit our number.
Got it.
One more question. What's the difference between C1 and C2?
Well, besides the name, C1 is neighborhood commercial and C2 is general commercial. C1 is more set up for office, light retail, service, haircuts, salons, that type of thing, some restaurants. Whereas C2, you have bigger operations. Walmart can be in a C2. With special use permits, you can have used car dealers, lumber yards, bigger stores,
So
drive-throughs, that sort of thing.
So this rezoning would be for the whole strip area?
No, you can
No.
see on this one slide here.
Sorry,
that-
I guess I'm getting ahead of myself, but I just asked this question.
Yeah, it's, for whatever reason, there's this kind of a diagram here in the packet that
Okay,
shows the north half is kind of a light pink, which is the
Right.
C1, and the south half being the C2. It goes back to 65. This part was C1, and this was residential. And then 80 comes along, and all of this is C2.
okay.
I don't know the history of it. I don't know it has anything to do with the creation of Blue Ridge Cutoff. I was not in Independence then. I don't know if that was put in after the stadiums went in, perhaps.
All right, okay. So-
Okay, well,
Well,
we can get into that.
Yeah, we'll
some
get
other
into that
time.
when we get to the case, okay. I make a motion that we postpone case 23-100-03,
Continue to,
February 14th, if the applicant's is
Right here.
okay, but since the applicant's not here, there's no,
oh, we're continuing. Do I have a second?
goddamn one time.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Staff, call the roll.
Commissioner Nesbitt,
Yes,
Commissioner H. Wiley,
Yes.
Commissioner L. Wiley,
Yes.
Vice Chair Preston,
Yes.
Chair McLean.
Yes.
Case continued to
February 14th.
February 14th. Thank you. Next, final case, the next case, I should say.
Make a motion
Second.
that we continue case 23-200-01.
We did.
Well, I wasn't sure if we could or not.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
That's why I don't think we can.
Well, I think the motion just included the
I
one
just included the
application.
one, I didn't
Yeah.
include both
Oh,
of them. Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
then we'll entertain a motion in the matter of
23 dash,
22-200-01.
yeah. I make a motion. that
So
we-
moved. We have a second?
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Staff, call the roll.
Commissioner Nesbitt,
Yes,
Commissioner Preston,
Yes.
Commissioner H. Wiley,
Yes.
Commissioner L. Wiley,
Yes.
Chair McLean.
Yes.
Motion carried. Case continued to February 14th. All right. Final case. It's case matter 23-175-01 UDO Amendment 55, Group Living Facilities Amendment. Sir, would you
Thank you.
present?
I'm sure this is the big thing that you guys were waiting for at the very end. Yeah.
Couldn't take it anymore.
So for some of you that may have been on the commission for some time, back in 2021, staff brought before you kind of a similar type of UDO amendment. When it went to council, there were some concerns about security and a couple of other things. Since then, we've gone and looked at this a little bit more deeply, and a lot of things have happened actually since then in terms of residential pricing and housing cost. And but one thing that I think all of us are acutely aware of in this room is many of people living in the city that do not have shelter. And so one of the reasons that we came up with this code amendment in the very beginning back in 2021 is that the staff had been in discussions with some of the faith-based groups in this city, churches, wanting to do some type of homeless shelter. And the code that we have currently written does really restrict that. And so that was really what started looking deeper into this and trying to figure out how can we, as a staff, put together an ordinance that can help. It's not going to solve, our homeless problem, but it can at least be one of those first steps in trying to come up with a solution to help. One of the biggest things that we did with this was take the current sections of the code and break them up. We had a lot of things like custodial, we had domestic violence shelters, and we had homeless shelters kind of mixed in together with certain sections, and we had a lot of restrictions on those. So, for example, for even domestic violence shelters, they had to be 2,640 feet from another particular shelter. For homeless shelters, for example, it had to be 2,640 feet from any churches, schools, daycare centers, public buildings, public parks. So it really made it almost impossible. I don't want to say impossible, but it made it very difficult to put one of these in. And so, when we were in discussions with some of the churches in the area, they wanted to be able to do some type of a homeless shelter and provide services in the community to people that much need those services. And so under that section 14404 group living facilities, essentially what we did was we pulled out some of these things. We took out domestic violence shelters and put that in its own section, but we also added something very important called transitional housing, which we didn't currently have in there. And traditional housing is, and I know, again, with the pandemic and kind of the end of the pandemic, there were a lot of individuals that were not homeless who may have lost their jobs and needed help in terms of having a place to live. And so that's really kind of the purpose behind that traditional or transitional housing component. But what we did was we took that out. We basically allowed, we took that 2,640 feet, made it 500 feet. We did add some very basic design standards in there to make sure that the buildings meet conforms to the neighborhood, that type of thing. And then, of course, the occupancy needed to make sure that we met the building code and fire code and any of the HUD housing requirements. And so the biggest thing, of course, with this, as we did with the last one, was the homeless shelter. We pulled out the homeless shelters. Those would basically be a special use permit, as would the domestic violence centers, and the transitional housing would be a special use permit. And we basically created a criteria that an applicant would have to come forward with a special use permit. So I'll kind of just go through some of those. We did want to make sure that, so at the last one we had, I think 30,000 square foot was a maximum. This time we've actually lowered that to 15,000 square feet, maximum of 30 people in the shelter. We did put in there that they required to have an operational plan when they come forward with their special use permit. One of the things that we wanted to see was to make sure that they were within a half mile from a
Bus stop.
from a bus stop or some sort of public transit system. And we did put some criteria in there for the number of employees. So 2 employees for the first 10 people, 1 additional employee thereafter. Obviously, the applicant can put forward a plan that talks about their staffing levels. But we also wanted to make sure that they had an occupancy permit. We also wanted to make sure that if they are providing food, that they follow Chapter 11 of our city code regarding food services. And then again, if they have any type of donation bins, that they follow our code for donation bins, which is 14422. Exterior appearance of the building obviously has to be kept up. And it has to be in accordance to our property maintenance code, no loitering, prohibiting alcohol, illegal drug use, making sure that there's adequate parking for the facility, lighting, and making sure that it's proper lighting on the facility, not necessarily shining on adjacent properties. And then, of course, the management plan that talks about the operations and that gives the narrative descriptions of what they're planning to do, where storage belongings and laundry facilities and that sort of thing. Also the transportation plan as to how their guests are going to come to this particular facility. And then, of course, with that plan, the interior floor plan where the sleeping areas, common areas, kitchens, bathroom facilities, and emergency exits. We are requiring the emergency security plan. I know that was kind of a critical thing as far as, the more people you get, you want to make sure that you have enough people or some sort of a operational plan to make sure that there's proper security in the area and rules of conduct, as well as how the shelter will communicate with neighboring properties. So again, special use permit would be required for that, and that would be what would be in that application that would come before this commission for consideration. So with that, that's kind of in a nutshell what this code amendment is about.
Commissioners, any questions for points of clarification?
Can you clarify how close These can be to schools and/or where they can be in neighborhoods.
So for homeless shelters, we didn't put one in. We didn't have a distance for that. It's basically just based on the special use permit. For the transitional housing and for the domestic violence shelters, it's 500 foot.
All right. Thank you. We're open for anyone to speak in favor of these changes, proposed changes. The chair will entertain comments from anyone who's resistant to any changes. Hearing none, the public portion of this is closed. Commissioners, any comments, or I'll entertain a motion.
I have one more question for
Would
the
you?
city.
Absolutely.
Is that okay? Just went out of my head. It'll come back. Give me a second.
Commissioner H. Wiley, will you give Commissioner L. Wiley a reprieve?
Thank you for updating this. I wish there was more people, more shelters.
My question is this: in the recent conversation with City Council and the positive vote for the pot tax going to police, the case came up about no homeless shelters at all in Independence for single men. Is there anything in any of this that would restrict what type of homeless? Could it be for single men versus families versus children, no children?
That is not a issue that is explicit anywhere in this particular code.
So it would be part of their special use application?
That would have to be as part of their management plan, what they intend to do, but it is not something that is either restricted or addressed in this particular code.
Okay, thank you.
Do I hear comments from Chair McLean?
I'm good.
Hearing none,
So with staff,
we'll entertain a motion.
No,
No, you comment?
now, all these codes and everything is going to be held by code enforcement to enforce, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and is there, I'm guessing there's no problems with, so the ones that we already have, they will not follow any of these codes, or do they have to amend to them?
Basically, moving forward, when you have a special use permit, it will basically be part of that special use permit. So,
Ones we have right now that are already operating, they don't have to worry about the new codes or not?
it's our intent that those would be operating under the current code. These would be anything new that would be following the special use permit.
Right, yeah,
would have to
special,
follow the
that's what I'm
special use
saying, but,
permit.
I don't know how many we have going right now in the city. Do you have any idea?
I don't know. That I do not know off
Okay.
the top of my head.
I make a
Additional
motion,
comment? Go ahead.
I make a motion, we approve case 23-175-01, UDO Amendment 55.
Hear a second?
I second.
Hearing a motion and a second. Staff, call the roll.
Commissioner Nesbitt,
Yes.
Commissioner H. Wiley,
Yes.
Commissioner L. Wiley,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Preston,
Yes.
and Chairman McLean.
Yes.
Motion passed. This UDO amendment is scheduled for first reading by City Council on February 20, 2023, and the public hearing and second reading on March 6.
Vice Chair, can I
Yep,
say something? I just want to thank the staff for addressing that, because that's huge for our city and for our citizens.
Oh, I intended to recognize Councilman Perkins and mimic the council in opening up before we adjourn for comments from the commissioners. So, Commissioner H. Wiley, Commissioner,
I'm good, no comment.
further comment? L. Wiley,
No additional comments.
Commissioner Nesbitt.
Well, I'm just thanking the staff for what they've been doing. They've been working pretty good. I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Absolutely. Commissioner Chair McLean.
I ditto what Commissioner Nesbitt just said. I appreciate the city and the effort and the time they put into these cases. And even when people don't show up, I think that's great. Thank you.
Before we adjourn, I want to take a moment and explain why I love independence. Because I saw something happen with a few friends that we gathered for lunch. And I didn't ask the brother for his permission to tell this story, and I won't mention his name, but what I saw was, he stood up and he talked about his dear friend who had passed. And he talked about him with love and compassion. And I thought to myself as he was speaking, wow, what a remarkable life his friend lived, that he is loved even in the after. That's why I love independence.
Hear, hear.
Anyway, meeting adjourned at 7:16? Yes. 7:16. We adjourn.